Abraham Lincoln is a monumental figure in American history, remembered as the 16th President of the United States, who guided the nation through its greatest internal crisis, the Civil War. His dedication to unity, his role in abolishing slavery, and his leadership style have been widely discussed, but certain elements of his life, particularly his so-called lost speech, remain shrouded in mystery. The humble beginnings. Abraham Lincoln was born 12th of February 1809 in a one-room log cabin on the Sinking Spring Farm in Hardin County, Kentucky. His early years were marked by poverty and hardship. His parents, Thomas Lincoln and Nancy Hanks, related to famous actor Tom Hanks, were farmers of modest means, and their lives were often shaped by the challenging frontier environment. Despite the difficult conditions, young Lincoln developed a passion for reading. His formal schooling amounted to no more than a year, but that didn't stop him from devouring books at every opportunity. His thirst of knowledge would be a driving force in his life. The move to Indiana. In 1816, when Lincoln was just 7 years old, his family moved to Indiana, seeking better opportunities. Sadly, only a few years later, in 1818, tragedy struck. Abraham's mother, Nancy, died from milk sickness, a disease caused by drinking contaminated milk. Her death was a devastating blow to young Abraham. The loss of his mother profoundly affected Lincoln, shaping his understanding of death and suffering, something that would remain with him throughout his life. Life in New Salem. By 1831, Lincoln had struck out on his own. He settled in the village of New Salem, Illinois, where he worked various jobs, including as a store clerk, surveyor, and postmaster. It was during this time that Lincoln first began to develop his reputation for honesty and integrity, earning him the nickname Honest Abe. Lincoln's time in New Salem also introduced him to politics. In 1832, he made his first run for political office, though he was defeated. But this setback did not deter him. Lincoln was determined to make his mark in public service. Lincoln's persistence paid off. In 1834, he was elected to the Illinois State Legislature as a member of the Whig Party. His strong oratory skills and commitment to education, infrastructure, and economic improvement quickly earned him respect among his peers. Although not yet a national figure, Lincoln was steadily building a foundation for his political career. His views on slavery, which he found morally troubling, but initially viewed through a lens of pragmatism, began to take shape during these early years. The mystery of the lost speech. By the 1850s, Lincoln had emerged as a leading political figure in Illinois. It was during this time, specifically in 1856, that he delivered what would become one of the most famous yet mysterious speeches of his career, what is now known as the Lost Speech. The speech was given at the Illinois Republican State Convention in Bloomington on May 29, 1856. Lincoln had just joined the newly formed Republican Party, which was founded on the platform of opposing the expansion of slavery into the Western territories. The content of the Lost Speech. The Lost Speech is so named because, according to those in attendance, Lincoln spoke with such passion and fervor that reporters present were completely engrossed and failed to take notes. Some accounts claim that Lincoln's oratory was so captivating that listeners were moved to tears, while others simply forgot their duty to record it. Though no official transcript of the speech exists, historians have pieced together some ideas of what Lincoln might have said. The speech was likely a powerful condemnation of slavery and a call to action for the Republican Party to stand firm in its opposition to the institution. Reactions and consequences. After the speech, Lincoln's reputation as a powerful and effective speaker spread beyond Illinois. The speech helped to solidify his position within the Republican Party and laid the groundwork for his later rise to national prominence. But why was the speech lost? Some historians speculate that Lincoln himself may have asked the reporters not to publish it, fearing that his strong anti-slavery rhetoric would be too controversial at that time. Others believe the speech was simply too spontaneous and impassioned to be captured accurately. Regardless, the lost speech remains one of the most intriguing mysteries of Lincoln's political career. In 1858, Lincoln gained further national attention during his debates with Senator Stephen A. Douglas. These debates, held as part of Illinois' Senate race, focused on the issue of slavery's expansion. Though Lincoln lost the Senate race, his eloquent defense of his views on slavery and equality elevated his status. Lincoln's arguments against the spread of slavery, including his famous House Divided speech, marked him as a principled leader willing to take a strong stand on the nation's most pressing moral issue. Presidential campaign. By 1860, Lincoln was the Republican nominee for president. He ran on a platform of halting the spread of slavery, while not calling for its immediate abolition in the southern states. His moderate stance on slavery, along with his reputation for honesty and integrity, made him an appealing candidate. On November 6, 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected the 16th President of the United States. His election, however, was met with immediate backlash in the southern states, where fears of an anti-slavery administration led to calls for secession. The Civil War. Lincoln's presidency was marked by the outbreak of the Civil War in April 1861, just weeks after he took office. The conflict between the North and South centered on slavery and states' rights. Lincoln faced the enormous task of preserving the Union while navigating the deeply divided nation. Lincoln's leadership during the war demonstrated his remarkable resolve and political skill. Though he faced numerous challenges, military defeats, political opposition, and personal tragedy, Lincoln remained steadfast in his commitment to preserving the Union. One of Lincoln's most significant actions during the war was the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863. While the proclamation did not immediately free all enslaved people, it declared that those enslaved in Confederate-held territory were to be set free. The Emancipation Proclamation transformed the war into a fight not only to save the Union but also to end slavery. It paved the way for the eventual passage of the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery throughout the United States. The final days and legacy. On April 9, 1865, General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Union forces, effectively ending the Civil War. Just days later, on April 14th, Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth while attending a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Lincoln's death shocked the nation. He had led the country through its darkest hour, and his loss was felt deeply across the nation. Today, Abraham Lincoln is remembered as one of America's greatest presidents. His leadership during the Civil War, his commitment to ending slavery, and his dedication to preserving the Union have secured his place in history. If you enjoyed this story, please consider liking and subscribing.